Stephon Diggs is out there, you know he's the number one target.
Yeah.
What can Josh McDaniels do to keep all the defense away, at least ease up the pressure on Diggs so that you can get him all those targets?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's one of those where do you allow them to kind of take him out, and then it creates opportunities for the other guys, and it's that trickle-down effect sort of thing where, okay, maybe he's going to be more of a decoy this week or something along those lines, or do you use things like, moving him inside or using him out of a stack, 2 receivers on the line next to each other or a bunch with 3 receivers on the line of scrimmage and get him off the line of scrimmage in creative ways like that. Usually when you move guys inside or you move them into those different alignments, it becomes harder to double him out of the game, right? Because you can't move the bracket all over the place. So how do you go about doing that? So there are ways to keep guys away from brackets or double teams, but he's going to see the opposing team's number one corner every single week, and you paid him this money, that juice in the tails of finding matchups and scheming guys off the line of scrimmage to keep them away from those traps that the defense has set for them. So I'm really excited to see what he has with Diggs, because I think he's going to move him inside, outside, all over the formation. I don't think you're going to just see Diggs running out, to one spot every single week. It's going to be a ton of different looks that they give defenses.
And while McDaniels goes over what they're going to do on the right box, I feel like we need Scott Hansen in here for the double box. The team is going through their conditioning and stretching exercises. You see defense in blue, offense in white.
Yeah, I did catch Cole Strange, so he is here.
I caught Keon White, too.
You did? Okay, that's great.
Keon White's wearing, kind of a different color practice jersey. It's white and blue. It's interesting.
He's special.
Yeah, so that's
two-way player.
Maybe that's why you missed him.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter, eat your heart out.
Well, that's good. And then it's, I guess, really just Wes Schweitzer, Tyrese Robinson. So a couple guys that have been in the mix for that interior offensive line rotation.
Yeah.
Again, it's these camps, you show up, you don't know who's going to be at the voluntary ones a couple weeks ago. It gives a lot of guys different opportunities. Tyrese Robinson, I remember a couple weeks ago, him getting thrown in there a bunch. So I think it's a lot of what you were saying, Fred. Even you have a sense of these guys, you study them, but got to say,
talking about him because he seems to fit the part of that slot receiver.
Yeah.
What has stopped us from people knowing who he was before here? Why wasn't he more well known? Is it because that certain position is just so special for Josh McDaniels' offense?
Yeah, well, he went to Eastern Washington, so he went to a smaller school, and he had huge production at Eastern Washington. Actually took down some of Cooper Kupp's school records at Eastern Washington, but he was at a Shrine Bowl invitee, was at the Shrine Bowl this year, and then he ran a 4.7 in the 40-yard dash. And when you run that slow at the receiver position, teams are just crossing you off as a draftable player. The same thing happened to Xavier Restrepo out of Miami, who ran a bad 40 time. So you had the bad 40 time. He's not the most physically imposing guy out there, but the production and the craftiness is definitely there of an NFL player. And just talking to some of the guys at the Shrine Bowl, they were disappointed that he went undrafted. They really felt like he had draftable tape and looked past the test of what you need to get drafted at that specific position. Everybody's making a big deal about the 40, but nobody's talking about the fact that his short shuttle and his 3-cone was one of the best at the combine.
I was just going to say,
yeah.
if you're looking at the slot receiver, you
the 4.6 range in the 40, but just had off the charts quickness. That definitely can translate specifically to playing in that slot role.
And there you see Chisholm 86 right there, right behind Travion Henderson. So. Who knows?
Who knows? And
yeah.
I think that the smarts is an underrated aspect of that. Really hard to judge the football smarts of guys when they're coming out. Whether it's right or not, Josh McDaniels' system has a reputation for being difficult to pick up for some receivers. So if Efton Chisholm's really smart and is consistently in the right place where Josh McDaniels wants him to be, last week we saw him starting to get some reps with, the upper level guys, and that should only continue if he continues to play like that.
And I want to talk about that a little bit. The reputation, the McDaniels offense being, complex and hard to pick up. Is it because it's just so much to absorb, or does it, especially in the position of the slot, does it rely on the player having a high football IQ and being instinctual?
Yeah.
And that's something sometimes you can't teach.
Yeah.
And the player either has it or they don't.
Leverage on me, and it's single high safety. Like, I'm expecting you to run this route this way.
Right.
And they have to be able to do it. So that's the complexity of it. And I think a guy like Chisholm, when you play in that slot, you're reading all these different elements, and you have to find these pockets of space in these high traffic areas. And he just has shown a knack in the spring of being able to do those sort of things. And you look at Julian Edelman, former quarterback, Jacoby Myers, former quarterback. Like, those are the guys that have, right, like, that really truly you could break either way, and you had that total freedom. Some of these routes are just conversions, where, like, if this guy's playing off, I'm just going to run a hitch, but if he's playing press, I'm going to run by him on the go route. Like, those things are pretty simple. It's the option routes, and those tend to be more in the middle of the field that can get overly complex. And every offense has these. I should put that out there. Like, they're running this in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. They're running this, down in Miami with Mike McDaniel. It's just the way that it's dressed up and the way that it's presented that maybe has been a little bit more complex in the past with McDaniels.
Yeah, I mean, it's a passing league, and like you said, so many teams do the same thing. It makes it really, really hard to defend. If you do it right.
Yeah.
And if you have a smart quarterback. And that's the hope here in New England, is that we've got one.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to get the answers to the test, as Brady would put it.
Yeah, add on with a full house today at wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see how some of the reps are divvied up in these two camps. It's not the end of the world where guys are, but you certainly get a sense of who's kind of in the mix with the upper group and who's trying to fight their way into that group.
Yeah, and you have the corners all one together today. So that was something from last practice that you just noted. No Carlton Davis, no Marcus Jones in the voluntary practice. They're both here today, and that duo, Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, has a chance to be really, really good.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens when those receivers get out there today, and they have an all-pro on one side and a Pro Bowl caliber corner on the other side. And can you have a practice like you had last week for Drake Maye when this whole defense is together? Because I kind of think of this defense a little bit as twos, like Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, kind of that pairing up front. Mm-hmm. But the safety tandem, Duggar and Peppers. And now you have this cornerback tandem that has a chance to be truly one of the best cornerback tandems in the NFL. I really believe that, especially with Gonzalez just continue to ascend. So we'll see this group out there together today, which will be exciting.
Well, when the Patriots are at their best, they really got at it in practice. I mean, practice was as competitive as the games. Guys like Rodney Harrison were, always chirping Brady, and Brady was chirping back. Who do you think is going to be that a-hole on defense this year that really gives Drake Maye the business but makes him a better quarterback?
Definitely heard Carlton Davis be that kind of guy in the past. He can be a chirper. He can be someone that can do a little trash talking. Christian Barmore is known for being a little bit of a talker out there as well, so maybe in the pass rush, he gets in there and we'll let Drake Maye hear it. But Davis, in a lot of ways, I just think complements Gonzalez really well. Gonzalez has got that Stephon Gilmore energy, the little bit quieter assassin
ninja
out there, whereas Carlton Davis is that more of that stereotypical number one corner, where he's got a little bit of bravado and he's got some pizzazz to his game. He's got those long arms too. You just look at the arms on him that everybody talks about, and you can tell. You can just look at his body type that he's got tons of length and physicality and a little bit of snarl to him too.
Yeah, Peppers is a little loud too. Guy I'd like to highlight though is Robert Spillane, who I think if you're just kind of tuning into this season, he's the new man in the middle now. He's the guy that's going to be running the defense, calling it. We talked about some of the OTA practices where it seemed like he was consistently blowing up plays in the backfield. He just seemed to know what was coming. He's going to be a big part. He's a quiet guy though. I don't think he's a trash talker, but he is going to be in the backfield a lot. Hopefully this year, tackles for loss, plays on the ball. Those are the things hoping for veteran Robert Spillane, who has been just an absolute tackling beast the last 2 seasons with the Raiders.
Yeah, I know a few of the Raiders writers, and they're pissed that Spillane left in free agency. Like the Raiders, you always like that when the fan base or the reporters are like, "Oh, you got our guy." And I remember last week he had a good practice a couple weeks ago, and all the Raiders beat was like, "Oh, what are you? That's Robert Spillane." Just he's not necessarily the biggest name or the guy that people are going to write about first, but he's always around the football, and he's got a great motor and a great instincts to his game, and nonstop hustle sideline to sideline. And he made 150 something tackles last year with the Raiders.
Last 2 years, he's got over 300 tackles.
Yeah, so So he's going to just be a tackling machine.
Yeah, and those two guys together, you just saw 53 and 54. Christian Ellis, who had a little bit of a breakout season last year. I mean, was forced into action due to injuries. Patriots wanted to re-sign him. The Raiders signed him to a deal maybe to replace Robert Spillane, and the Patriots said, you know what, we not only want Spillane, we want to keep Christian Ellis around. So he's stuck around on a 2-year deal. So long, Patriots fans have been looking for more mobile linebackers, like you said, Fred, the sideline-to-sideline kind of guys. I think this is, what this defense is going to be. It's all about speed, aggressiveness, and I'm excited to see how it all comes together.
Zach Thomas is the guy that comes to mind, that sideline-to-sideline tackle machine, and people made fun of him. Well, it's all he does is make tackles. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, well,
is there
I think it depends. If they're 8 yards down the field, it's one thing, but if they're 4 or 3 yards, it's another.
You need some of that, too.
Yeah, you do. Somebody's got to take the trash out.
Right. Clean up the trash. Exactly. But that will allow, and Deuce, you pointed this out a couple weeks ago. It was a great quote by Spillane where he said he wants his defensive line to get up the field and be aggressive, and he's going to make them right. And when those guys fly up the field, it's going to be hit or miss sometimes because you are being overly aggressive. And if he can just be that guy that makes sure that it's an 8-yard run and not an 80-yard run, then that's exactly what they need. They don't necessarily need him to make all the splash plays in the backfield. They need somebody that's going to mitigate damage in the middle of the defense, and I think that's why he's here.
And he even said it. He said, "Let these guys up front make those plays. I'll clean it up. I'll get you right." Because we talked about it at the top of the show. There is some talent here in the defensive line. They should be making some plays this year. And so then you have guys like Spillane behind them. That's on paper, it looks like a pretty good front seven.
Mike Vrabel just said it. It's got to be a strength of our team. That's exactly what he said at his press conference, and he's absolutely right. And you look at the stats last year, last in the league in sacks, towards the bottom of the league in pressure rate. They have to find a way to get after the quarterback. And I remember back in January, that was one of the first things he said at his introductory press conference is affecting the other team's quarterback, and pressuring the other team's quarterback is such a big part of playing good football in today's NFL. And they went out and they signed probably the best pass rusher in free agency in Milton Williams, and they bring in a familiar guy in Harold Landry who, back in this system, I think you hope that maybe his pass rush production goes back to what it was 2 years ago with Vrabel in Tennessee. So even though the metrics don't look great for Landry last year, remember there was a scheme change, there was a coaching staff change, there was a lot of different things that they were asking him to do, just technique-wise and schematically, that now that he's back home in this deep Vrabel defense, hopefully we get the guy of Harold Landry who was the Pro Bowl caliber player for the Titans for a couple years there.
Just to echo, I know you already said it earlier, but it just puts a focus on Swinson for me. Trying to get some young legs in there. I don't think you want Harold Landry playing every snap, even if he's being productive. You're going to need a third or fourth rotational guy. Keon White, we've seen him show some flashes, mostly from the inside. How's he going to play on the edge? Chase on more of a DPR, designated pass rusher last year, playing across from Max Crosby. When he was on Patriots Unfiltered, he told us he knew he benefited a little bit from that. But some questions, and I would love to see one of those young pass rushers just bring a little bit of speed around the edge. Like a guy like Josh Uche, he had a very specific role, but I'd still love to have somebody like that with some speed third downs.
Good football again. You can be encouraged by that too, if you want. But I'm interested to see what happens with Marcus Jones in this defense. Is he going to be the full-time slot corner? Do they really want a bigger body type in there? Because they've talked about that a little bit. Drafting Craig Woodson maybe in the 4th round as a slot safety that could be a little bit more sturdy at that position on early downs. So we'll see. It's fun to watch those three, Davis, Gonzo, and Marcus Jones play man coverage because they can all play man at a really good level. But is that a full-time role for Marcus Jones? He's obviously going to return punts, and he's going to have a role on this team as a primary punt returner and defensive back. But is he a starter in this defense?
I mean, maybe he's just a piece, in the workbench. That when we need him, when we've got a small shifty slot that he lines up well with, he might play a little bit more.
Or when you need that double team in the because there's just elite speed that you're going up against, and you have him double with somebody else. Maybe more of a man zone thing where he kind of trails the guy into different zones.
He's sticky. I mean, I like that him coming out of college. I mean, he obviously has a little bit of a size disadvantage, but I'd connect that slot position to the safety position, and we've heard plenty of coaches getting asked about to Duggar and Peppers, does that fit the kind of free safety, strong safety mold you might want?
Right.
But there's a lot of guys, Jalen Hawkins, who played a bunch last year, Marcus Epps, who came in from the Raiders, he's been a starter, a little bit more of a free safety guy. Del Pettis, who played a big role for the Patriots on special teams last year. Craig Woodson, you mentioned, drafted. I mean, that's 6 guys right there that there's all some kind of argument for that these guys should play and should play on defense. But how do the coaching staff see it all coming together? What picture are they imagining? That's where that slot position, whether it's Marcus Jones or Isaiah Bull,
part of the field. But if Craig Woodson could do that sort of thing, that frees those guys up to then play closer to the line of scrimmage and be more aggressive and do the things that they are good at. So I'm encouraged by what I've saw from Craig Woodson. There was a lot of talk about him being maybe the one consensus reach that they made in this draft, and he's been impressive, I thought.
Well, that's
so
the
far.
kind of thing where, when you see a guy like that in the spring, then you keep your eye on him in the summer.
Yeah.
And if they start using him running with the ones a little bit, then maybe they saw what you saw, and okay, we want to see a little bit more of this guy playing, against the ones, I should say.
We've seen the puppy nipping a little bit. Is he going to learn to bite?
And then you put pads on. Okay, can he keep that up when we put the pads on? Does he do it and that's how you earn more play.
Yeah, that's the most fun stuff to me with watching camp day in, day out, is you see guys start to get chances. And I always go back to Mike Onwenu as an easy example, but right out of the gate, you just started to notice every day, this guy, this 6th-round pick, he's getting some.
Even if it's not a full-time role, but can Craig Woodson come on the field and on 3rd down, he can be the deep safety in the middle of the field, and it just unlocks everybody else to just kind of do what they need to do on the play and be the ones actually maybe making more of the splash plays on the football. But
Maye, Josh Dobbs, and Ben Woolridge.
Yep.
Yes.
So those are the 3 that you're looking at right now. Looks like they're doing a little play action simulation here.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing just going forward and with Drake Maye. I know there's a lot of talk about grasping this McDaniels offense at the line of scrimmage, but the footwork carryover. He had made so much progress his rookie season with his footwork, going from where he was at North Carolina to where he ended up with the Patriots. And how are they going to keep that the same? AVP was a big left foot forward, and the rhythm of the footwork and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like it worked. The boot camp that they put him through in terms of his feet, and that
a little bit. He had kind of a rough practice last week and a couple drops,
yeah.
And you could seem like he was fighting it a little bit. I still think he looks good on the move, on the hoof. Runs pretty well, pretty big. But it seems like right now Patriots are pretty well set. Austin Hooper missed a couple of the voluntary practices. He's out here today, so looks like they're pretty set with those 2 guys for now.
Yeah, big one to know, too. Number 46 there on your screen, Brock Lampy. The one traditional fullback that the Patriots have on the
one of
roster
one.
Currently. This is a James Devlin, Jakob Johnson fullback with Brock Lampy. And that's a big question when you start doing the roster crunch and the 53-man projections. Are they going to carry a fullback? Are they not going to carry a fullback? Roster projections, getting it down to 53, that's a big spot there.
Yeah.
Are we carrying 3 tight ends? Are you carrying 4 tight ends? Are you carrying a fullback?
Right.
Are you not carrying a fullback? Those are going to be the things that are going to decide a lot of this.
Well, they got him catching passes right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the coaching staff getting to know these guys, and we don't truly know what they love. I mean, I think personally,
with the practice squad now, he could start on the practice squad and elevate him for games and things of that nature. But when we get out here, we still hear regular sometimes, and the fullback's going on the field. That's just, I can't imagine that package is just going to be completely wiped out of Josh McDaniels' arsenal.
Good point. Talking about tight ends, who's your blocking tight end going into the, or do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I think on this stage you're probably a little bit pure dirt blocker. Get in there, wide tight end, just ready to do the tough work that needs to be done in the running game. I'm not sure. I think in a perfect world you have a guy who can do both, like Gronk, but right now they've been doing it by committee.
Yeah. If only we could just get Gronk. Prime Gronk.
Can't just pick a new Gronk up. How many of them? There's got to be another one out there somewhere, right?
CJ Dupree's that guy. Out of Alabama. He's a blocking tight end, 255, 260.
There it is.
He's a house. You look at him, and that was